Hello! Welcome to Sunday School with Miss Wesley. I am your lovely teacher, Miss Wesley. And this is one of my 3 dogs. This is Sweet Pea. She likes to make an appearance at the beginning, and then all of a sudden she disappears. So right now she wants to be part of our video. She likes a little bit of notoriety, but not a lot. And this is Mr. Charlie. He's probably on the edge of the camera. You probably barely see him. It's a bit hot today. He's not a happy camper. Our air conditioner went out and has yet to be fixed. So, he is not a happy camper. Okay, so let's get to Sunday school. If you've been following along with us, you know that we are in our theme of journeying with God. This is our last lesson on that theme. Yes, it has been a while. I started this back in December. And we are in at the end of May. If you've been following, if you're just brand new and you just clicked on this video, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you've been following along, you know that it's been paced out quite a bit. I took on a new project at church, and I've taken on a lot of projects, and things have just gotten spaced out. But hopefully I can get back into a more consistent schedule. But this is our last lesson in my Journeying with God theme. I do 10-week lesson plans. Last lesson we learned about taking a breather, taking time to smell the roses on our journey. Doesn't mean we have to stop. Just every once in a while you need to take a moment, find a quiet place, and just you and God get back together. Because when we are so busy, it's easy for us to fall out of sync with God. And we need to take a moment to just take a breath while we're on our journey. And this is our last lesson, and this one is your journey is your story. This might seem an unusual lesson to be using, but when I bring it out, it's going to make a whole lot of sense. I'm going to do this story first, and then I'm going to explain why I have all these books here. So, I did the beginning part, the well-known part of this story in my last lesson plan, which was Blazing Hot for God, and there's a reason why that is called Blazing Hot. If you want to take a look at it, just go to my YouTube page, my YouTube channel, and they're all there. This lesson takes place in I think it's 1 Kings, and Elijah and Elisha were journeying. And I told you the first part. Elijah tells Elisha that he's going to die. And then he gets called up in a chariot of fire. But this is the second part of this lesson that it didn't tell you about, this story. Elijah, when he told Elisha this, they were journeying along to Jordan. And on the way back from where they had gone is when Elijah got called up. When Elijah told Elisha what was going to happen, Elisha asked Elijah, I want to put this. Elisha asked Elijah for a double portion. Now, a double portion of what the Spirit of God that Elijah had. And so Elijah told Elisha, "You ask a hard thing, but I can see what I can do." So as they were journeying back to where they, after journeying home, Elijah gets called up and he goes to the ultimate journey home. He gets called up in a chariot of fire. I mean, it came down in a whirlwind. He left in a tornado, okay? He got a chariot of fire, a steed of fire. This guy went out in a blaze of glory, literally. So as Elijah was going up to heaven, earlier in this lesson plan, I told you when Elijah first met Elisha, his protege. Elisha was Elijah's mentee. He was his protege, the person that Elijah wanted to take his place. Is the one that God anointed to take Elijah's place when he died. And when Elisha first met Elijah, Elijah came by, took off his coat, which they called the mantle, and threw it on Elisha and just walked off. Elijah is a man of bravado. And left his coat on Elisha, and then Elisha brought it back to Elijah and gave it back to him. As Elijah, in order to understand what happens when Elijah gets called up, you have to know that part of the story. Because as Elijah was going up to heaven, his mantle, his coat came falling down and landed at Elisha's feet. And Elisha took up Elijah's coat and put it on himself, taking Elijah's place. And when he put on Elijah's coat, he got his double portion as well. He got a double portion of Elijah's power. And he took his staff that was in his hand. At that time, almost everyone carried a staff. It was a signal of power. Elisha took his staff, hit the river of Jordan with it, and it came apart, just like Elijah had done. That's another story. Just like when God parted the Red Sea, or when the children of Israel went across to the Promised Land, and the river of Jordan split. Elisha had just did that. He got a double portion of the power that Elijah had. He took the position that Elijah just gave up because he had to move on. So, I'm going to explain these books, and then I'm going to explain the lesson. One of these books, they're about the same person. But one of them is a biography, and one of them is an autobiography. Okay. A biography, this one, is from the perspective of somebody else, writing about someone else's life. They interview people, they read about stories about this person, but they never actually met this person. But they're telling the story of someone else's life. This story was written by the person themselves with help. So they knew intimately their story. They knew what it was about and why they did what they did. They knew their journey through life, personally. And if you don't know who Sam Walton is, he's the guy who made Walmart. I do not have any association with these books or anything. I'm just using them as a reference. This book is called The Dream Giver. Again, I have no association with these books. I'm just using them as a reference. This story is about a guy named Ordinary, and he's given a dream by a dream giver. And he goes on a fantastic journey trying to achieve these goals. He goes through a desert where everybody's against him, telling him to turn back. He goes and fights giants. It's a, if you never read it, I suggest you do. It really does help if you're wanting to achieve a dream. But in it, it just helps you understand that you're going to go through rough things and everything. It is just it's a fantasy story that deals with real life and how it goes. All of these are stories. And you know what this is? This is a Bible. In it are a whole bunch of stories. Some of them are stories that were written by the people that went through them. A lot of them were written by people who had second-hand knowledge. But there's all stories in here. There's all kinds of stories. Stories that you can live by. Stories that are tellings of what someone else did. It tells of their journey and their story through life. All of these stories are something that someone else has told, and they are a reference that we use for a life or lives of someone else. When Elisha took up Elijah's coat, he took his spot, but it still was Elisha's story. Elisha, even though he got Elijah's portion and doubled it, even though he took Elijah's spot, it was still Elisha's story. You see what I'm saying? I know let me help out. We all have our own story to tell. Our journey is our journey. We're going to have people come into our lives. We're going to go through other people's lives. And we become part of their story, and they become part of our story. And you could tell someone a story about someone else's life, but it is still their life. It is still their journey. And someone might tell someone a story about your life, but it is still your journey. It is still your life. We should want to have a story that someone else wants to tell. Because you never know who's watching you. Ever. You might be surprised who is watching you. Who is writing part of your story into their life. I don't know if Elijah knew after he died what Elisha was going to accomplish. He just knew that Elisha was the man that God wanted him to be a protege to be his follow-up, the person to take his place. But it was still Elisha's story after Elijah died. You might be part of a family that has been in church their entire lives, but it's still your journey, not theirs. You have to make the decision in your life where you want to go. You might be the complete opposite. You might be the only one in your family ever to attend a church, ever to even consider going to church. Where you come from, in God's eyes, is just part of your journey. It's part of your story. And again, someone's looking at you going, if they can do it, I can do it. If you have seen someone in your church that you want to fashion your life after, that you want to write a biography about and put it into your life, get to know them. Go talk to them. Say, hey, what is your story? What have you achieved in your journey? Take their mantle upon you. If you see God has led you to find someone in your life to be a mentor to, take your mantle and throw it on them, like Elijah did. They might be the answer to your prayer. Guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, we're all in this journey together. I hate that saying that we're all in this alone. That we're born alone, that we're going to die alone. No. No, 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 no. That's a lie. You are not in this world alone. You were not born alone at all. The moment you were born with God. God says that I knew you in your mother's womb. I knew who you were. I know who you are. Doesn't that say that God is with you from the moment you were born? And that somehow in the middle of your life, somehow in your life, that you lose connection to Him. But in this life, we are all connected. I mean, all of us are connected. You know, they say that you can, within 9 people, you know someone that knows you. Yeah, every 9 people. It's kind of interesting. Well, 9 is 9 people. It's a connection thing. But in reality, yeah, we are all connected. And all of our stories connect somewhere down the line. And we influence people with our story as well as everybody around us. They influence us and we influence them. And if you see that you want to take up a mantle and you want to have more power with God, then achieve that. Write that part of your story. Put that in your journey. Because there are someone out there that will see your story later on and want to be a part of it. I think we get so caught up with the ugly of life, we forget how beautiful God actually made everything. God didn't originally make things to be ugly. Satan did that. The darkness of the world did that. God made everything so beautiful. You know, they say that we were made for carnal mind, but I think it was the opposite. I think we were made for good things. And darkness infiltrated when we took of the fruit, and it just, of course, sin ruins everything. But originally, we were made for good things. And God's creation is a beautiful thing. And when we are come together and we connect with one another as God intended it, I think that's a beautiful thing. That we look at our journeys as not us just trudging along individually, but going along together. And yes, we're going to go through times where everything seems to be falling apart, but there's still God. And believe me when I say you are never truly alone. There is always someone watching you. And trust me, there is not one person in this world that is not loved. That's a lie Satan's put out there. They put it in your mind that they don't care about you. But believe me, there's someone out there. I'm one. That cares about you and wants good things for your life. Wants your journey to be filled with light, not darkness. Full of hope, not, dread. Wants your life full of love and not hatred or fear. The opposite of God has always been Satan. And he is the author of confusion, and he loves to breed fear. Because you know what fear does? It takes our mind off of God and puts it on something else. Because with God, all things are possible. And with fear, we think that we have to fix it. That we're out of control. But God's never given up his control. Isn't that awesome? That the God who can do everything is the one in charge of our lives. And that our journeys are not just us out there alone fighting. You don't have to fight this world alone. You don't have to fight the darkness alone. And that is awesome. Your story can be written in the Bible, it can be written in a book, or it might just be known to someone that's just watching your life. But that is your inheritance, is your story and your journey. If the only one who knew it was God, and the only one who knew it was Jesus, I think you lived a full life. Again though, you never know who's watching. Alright, that's this week's lesson. I know that was kind of an interesting... Yeah, that was kind of interesting, but I do want to express how much your journey does mean to someone. How much it does mean to you. Your story is very important. Just like Elijah and Elisha's story was very important. You never know who you're going to affect. You're just as important as the man who gets up every Sunday. A pastor is a servant unto the church, not the other way around. A leader should be a servant first. I always hated that when they would say that. When I would take leadership training, they'd always tell you, you are a servant first. And if you want to be a good leader, you have to be a servant. Because the people around you, you are serving them. Not the... You guys are in service together. That one was free to you. Don't know. Someone might need to hear that. Alright. Next lesson, I'm going to do a special edition. Might be a couple of special editions while I finish the next lesson plan. This one's been given a this one's an important one. The next lesson plan, all of them are important, but this one deals with death. All my lessons, they are themed. And they have, the fire theme, the water theme. But they all have another side of them. When I was doing the fire theme, it was about being bold and brazen and being, on fire, fighting your viver. And then when I did the connection theme, it was about connecting back to God and all that. This next one is about the impossible. So, yeah, the impossible God. So, we're going to do it. It's going to be an archaeology theme. I'm calling it He Digs It. Well, God digs it. I think that's what we're calling it. So I just have to finish a couple lessons on it, and then we'll get that one started. But again, we're trying to get it more consistent. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you stay tuned. I know sometimes I get off on my little tangents and start talking away, talk. But my audience doesn't care. I mean, they're sleeping. So I'm talking about my dogs. They're an awesome audience sometimes. Sometimes I talk too much. Alright. I love you. God loves you. And there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. So no matter where you are in this life, remember, you are loved. Goodbye.